Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for saying yes to becoming one of my esteemed panelists. So happy to have all of you. Good morning.
Good morning, Jermaine.
And to our virtual audience, welcome once again to AF4C Employment Reimagined. We are hoping that after you have joined us, you will emerge stronger in your, employment and job search. Yeah, and this is day 2, and we are very pleased to have all these founders, co-owners, joining us to tell you a little bit about a non-linear career. But before I go there, let me introduce you to my esteemed panelists. We start with Alice. Miss Alice Lopin is the founder of the Art of Leadership Studio. It's her own gig. And prior to this, if I'm not wrong, Alice, correct me, you are with Apple. Am I right?
That's right.
Yes, a cool company indeed, And onward to Miss Lynnette Yi. Now, Lynnette is a friend. Is a good friend of mine, and she is the founder of the Doodle people. So I will leave her to tell you a little bit about the Doodle people. All right. And last but not least, the guy in our midst, Mr. Ian Wu, ex-colleague of mine. So happy that you can join me. And Ian, so happy to know that you are now the co-owner of Huone Singapore, and it's such a beautiful, event space at Clarke Quay, if I'm not wrong. So I will leave you to say something about it as well. So now I want you guys to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what does your company do. Okay, so maybe I jump across to Alice first. You want to take it away?
Good morning, Jermaine, and thank you so much for having me. Appreciate that. So my name is Alice Lopin, and I'm the founder of the Art of Leadership Studio. And so essentially, after 20 years in business and leadership positions, in pretty much across the globe, I've lived in 8 different countries, I decided to found a company where we do 2 things mainly. The first one is I advise CEOs and company founders in all the human side of their business, right? So how do we hire? How do we engage teams? How do we retain people? How do we motivate? How do we develop our talent? I advise them on all that HR or human or people side of their business. And the second thing that I do is I train and develop leaders at every level of the organization to be better leaders and to their teams.
Nice. Okay, so to some of our listener, you might be in this position that you will need to be connecting with Alice very soon, or you might be in a position that you're changing, and you're taking the next step. And so therefore, Alice is really a good person to go to. Thank you, Alice, for the introduction. Now I go to Lynnette.
Good morning, Jermaine. So my company is the Doodle People. We started out as an animation production house, but since then we've really evolved, and we see ourselves more as a tech company that is involved in creative pursuits. So we produce experiences, interactive experiences in augmented reality, virtual reality, as well as still we produce animation videos. Our clients are a lot of large MNCs and as well as SMEs. But what's interesting is that we're now going into the events and performance arts sphere globally as well as locally. So we're very excited. It's we're at the cusp of breakthrough technology in this performance arts and events sphere.
Yes. So Ian, we come to you. You want to introduce us to you?
Hello everyone. My name is Ian Wu, and I'm the co-founder, as Jermaine mentioned, of Huone Singapore. So basically, Huone is a creative meeting space. Creative in the sense that every single room that we have across all our 4 units in the world. We have 1 unit in Denmark, we have 2 units in Finland, specifically Yaftasari and Kampi, and in Singapore we're located at Clarke Quay. So every single room is thematically different. So what we are kind of known for, apart from the thematic space, is our natural view. So rooms have balconies that overlook the Singapore River, but every single room is different depending on the needs of the customer, right? So if you require to break down barriers between baby boomers, Gen X, Gen Y, we put you in a room with swings, or we put you in a room that is a one gigantic sandbox. So the intent is to break down barriers and to help you have better meetings. So that's Huone in a nutshell.
That is so cool, right? And Ian, I've been to your place. It is to die for. It is beautiful, and it's even becoming a space where people go and get married, right, Ian?
Yes, we had to pivot. We had no choice last year.
Don't say that. It's a lovely venue, and maybe some of our listeners are, oh, there you go. I even find that out in a conference like this. Okay, so thank you very much all for your introduction, and I'm very happy that you can join us. Okay, so now on to the subject of entrepreneurship. Can I jump to Ian first? All right. Yeah, I want to hear from Ian first. Ian, now what to you is entrepreneurship? You want to tell us?
Well, I think entrepreneurship is, it means different things to different people. So I would say by and large, there are two groups of people out there. Those who are born entrepreneurs, right? They've always wanted to do their own gig, and they've always worked towards that direction. I kind of belong to the second group, which is specifically for the situation with Huone. Entrepreneurship was kind of forced onto us, because what happened was when COVID hit us in the MICE sector, we were really hit very, very bad, right?
Yes.
So what happened last year, basically sometime in March, we reached a point where when I looked at our bank account, right, and I was like, oh my God, as I was CE then, right? So I looked at my bank account, I was like, oh my God, we don't have enough money to last the next few months, right? What are we gonna do, right? And our other units across the world were completely buggered as well.
Yeah.
So the only way that we could inject capital was for me to buy a stake in and push some money in so that we could survive, right? So that was the only way we could go about it. Having said that, I obviously have my other experiences starting my own business before I met you, Jermaine. So it wasn't completely new, but I would say that in my current context, I belong to Group B, where it was kind of a forced upon. So by definition, as basically to be an entrepreneur is somebody who wants to go at it on their own, wants to be able to curate the entire experience A to Z for their customers. I think that's most of us that go into this space kind of feel, when we're in other corporates or we're companies that we don't own, that we could probably do this better. We could probably shape the user experience better. So I think, although we have two groups, the conversion point is the same, to be able to shape the entire experience to your vision of how it should be. So that would be my short, long answer of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I know. I heard about your story, Ian, but wow, kudos to doing that. You kept your entire team. And by the way, you continue to hire.
Yeah.
Good for you. I mean, the team just rallied together and really pull it off. You guys went from here to here. Now you're literally on the rise. Again, to people out there, this is a good team to join. Regardless of whether they're in mines or not, they are a good team to join. Okay, so onwards to you, Alice. Now, I don't think that position was forced on you. I think you took it willingly, and proudly. Do you want to share with us?
You're right. At this moment, I belong in group number one for this time. The way I see entrepreneurship, Jermaine, is when someone, sees in the world a new or a better way to do something. And then this person decides, okay, I'm going to be the person to do that. I'm going to be the person to fill that gap. So in my case, I was hearing a cry from leaders. They wanted to develop. Leaders wanted to be better leaders to their teams, and they didn't know where to go to upskill themselves, in fact. And I couldn't believe this sort of service, this leadership development was not out there. And so I decided to, start my own leadership academy to fill that need, to kind of respond to that need. That's how I see entrepreneurship.
Yeah, I mean, that's really, really good. And already I have somebody in mind that needs to meet you. I will let you know.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay, so going on to Lynnette, Lynnette, I'm actually not very sure. I know. You have been an employee once before, and stepping into, you know, doing your own thing. You remember long time ago, we did our first gig together.
Yep,
You know,
that's
this
right.
and that
Yeah.
bazaar. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We had such a blast.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Well,
So you want to share with us? Yeah.
yeah, sure. Yeah, I worked in quite a lot of corporate jobs. I mean, obviously, I wasn't very settled. I've worked with fund managers, Franklin Templeton. I've worked with sports car distributors. I've worked with a very large furniture retailer many years of my life. But I think I am a born entrepreneur. And for me, an entrepreneur is my definition is somebody with a growth mindset, very positive, very resilient, and has a vision. So, you know, a lot of times you do, in my corporate life, I saw a lot of entrepreneurs in various departments. You see them in marketing, you see them in sales, but as entrepreneurs within the corporate world, like Ian said, they had a vision, but because they were being held back by corporate norms and corporate culture, a lot of them, you know, either broke away, or if they stayed on, I can tell you it wasn't feeding their soul. So yeah, I agree that an entrepreneur has a vision, and but I think for me, it is very, very important for the entrepreneur to have a growth mindset. It's so easy to start up a business, but how do you grow it? What is your vision? And then you run into challenges. How do you overcome that? So resilience come into the whole picture. So that's my definition of a entrepreneur.
Yeah, you know, I hear all of you, you know. So I want to hear from all of you, you know, was taking that first step easy, like me, maybe in La La Land, or was it very, very tough? You know, let me jump across to Alice for that first. Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think I chose my moment. As you said earlier, I chose the moment to be an entrepreneur. And so what was that moment? I already had 20 years of experience in my industry and in leadership, right? I had a robust network pretty much around the world that I could rely on. And so to some extent, I felt, I think I have the skills and the network to make this work, to be successful. Another thing is that I felt I also now have the skills or the capability or the credentials to find a job if it doesn't work, right?
Yes.
So in that sense, I could say it was relatively easy to get started because I had the confidence that I had enough to make it work, and also the backup plan in case it didn't. So I'd say it was easy. Now, just one thing maybe for the audience is whether entrepreneurship is going to be easy, is that people may not always think about when the accountability when you're an entrepreneur is in every area. So you're accountable for your operations, but you're also accountable for your finance, for your recruitment, for your sales, etc., etc. And so I think maybe something to think about for people who want to go into entrepreneurship is, are those areas of strength of mine? And am I going to be comfortable in those various areas, right? Is it going to be easy for me to be successful in all those different parts? Maybe something to think about before you get started.
I know, right? And who better to answer that is Ian. Ian, you were thrust into a group. You're not like us, you know, when we first step in, it's us and us. Moi, that's it, you know, and the team comes later. But you went in because it first was a job, and then you invested, and all of a sudden you became an owner, and you became an entrepreneur with a team. So again, I know it's not easy for you, but backed up against the wall, you know, and you still step in anyway, you know. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so I think for context for this, as a CE, you already run, the buck stops with you already. I think the only difference as a owner is that trying to generate liquidity and capital is something that you must do, right? So I think that was the only thing that was different. But to answer the point about how easy the first step is, because this is obviously not my first business, right? No. So I think the first step can be easy if you already have, I think what I want to say is, it can be easy if your variables are reduced. And what do I mean by variables, right? So for example, if you were to run a business, if you address the variable aspect of your knowledge in functional areas like marketing, HR, finance, sales, product development, supply chain, if you already have some fundamental skills there, then when you go in and run your business, yes, you need to learn a bit more in those specific areas, but you can focus your energy and time on the one big variable, which is your customer. That is obviously the biggest variable out there, right? You go in and you think they want this, but in reality, they want something else altogether, or they want an adaptation of your product. So I would say you can make your first step really easy if you find the time to go and get tuition, in a sense, by working for somebody else, making sure you rove around the role so you can pick up all those necessary skills. And generally for entrepreneurs, being able to sell is one thing, but being able to manage your cash flow, your balance sheet, being able to raise capital, I think these are things which you need to either know about already or have some first-hand experience on. I think these are the things that can potentially kill you if you are an entrepreneur, because you could have a great idea, you start up your product, right, but you can't support it because your supply chain is just not there, or your for various issues. So I think just to recap what I just said, I think reduce your variability so you can focus on the one big thing, which is your customer, and to make sure you can tailor the whole experience to what they exactly need, which for sure it will change.
Yeah, indeed, right? Wow, what a great thing to pick up on, and then onwards to Lynnette. Lynnette, when we first started, it's just the two of us. We had a fun ride, but we knew that it's not gonna last.
Yeah.
And then we went back out again. So,
Yeah.
but then, later on, you started it was like more like a family thing, with Su Ming. He started something, and then you started, this side of the technology business. So you want to walk us through,
Sure. Yeah. So you're looking at a reluctant partner here at the Doodle people. It was actually started by my husband.
Yeah.
We were looking for whiteboard videos out there, and they were so expensive, and we already knew a lot of artists and digital artists, and we said, we'll do this ourselves. And before you know it, something that we were looking for became our business. But I knew that in the animation business, within 3 years, that it would become very competitive. So and we decided that the way to go is always innovate, always be ahead of everybody. So that's what we do. We've taken it another step further with the 3D artists, the 2D artists. We went on to innovate, and now we're in augmented reality and virtual reality. But we're not the enterprise kind of reality business. We're more towards the communications and the entertainment and so forth. So I would say that was it easy to get into entrepreneurship? Yes, because that's my personality. In everything that I do, I bring with it a certain streak of entrepreneurship. But I would say the most difficult part, in my opinion, of being an entrepreneur is, like Ian said, you got to know your industry very well. There were times when I thought clients wanted something, but it's not what they wanted.
No.
And so you have to tailor. Sometimes there's a lot of education involved as well. But for us, I feel we've grown from a two-man business to become a 12-person business, and we're still growing. We're still looking to hire Unity engineers for our AR and VR. But I think the biggest issue now is for us at this stage of our business is cost control. How do you control your costs going crazy with all the people you have to hire, all the investments you have to put into innovation, and yet grow, So there are many stages to entrepreneurship. I read in an article that within 5 years, close to 50% of businesses actually shut down. And the reason why businesses actually fall apart after 5 years is because of that financial control bit. That's very, very important. So I'm a marketing, business development sort of person. Fortunately for me, my husband is the financial control freak. So and you really need that in a business that you want to grow, because you can't just be spending, and so and then you have to walk the fine line between innovating, growing, and controlling your cost. So for the entrepreneurs out there who want to get into the entrepreneurial world, keep this in mind. The cost control is very, very important.
Indeed, you know, and thank you, because Lynnette, you sent me something as well, you know, from 2019, and I'm stunned to see that the failure rates of startup was around 90%.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, like 9 in 10 fail. You know, I mean, are we giving a very grim outlook to, you know, our virtual audience? Can you imagine everybody were bright eye, bushy tail, like, oh, you know, maybe we should just stick to.
I think,
you know?
I think, in my opinion, it depends on how you see your business, how you manage it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people go in with no vision, just wanting to become the next unicorn. For us, we went in very consciously, not to be a unicorn or dream to be one of those you start up and then you sell it off within 3 years.
I know.
We were building a business out of brick and mortar. We wanted a stream of income, something that's sustainable. And if you have that vision and you want that, and you're very passionate about what you're doing, I don't see the issue. Again, the cost control is important, but the failure rate of startups, I can tell you the reason why is because people go in wanting to just sell off their business. So to me, that is not a very right approach. That's right.
Yeah, indeed, right. And Ian, on that note, I want to come to you. What possessed you to put in your money into something that is mice? This thing on COVID-19 is not going to end, you know, anytime soon. If you look at the rest of the world, nobody's handling it very well. You know what I'm saying? You know, yeah. So you wanna tell us why there must be a vision somewhere, you know, for you to do that.
What can I say? I'm a sucker for pain, right? So I'm not sure if you can beat that out, but I think first and foremost, the concept is interesting. I think, like Lynnette said, right? Once you have this kind of entrepreneurial drive in your veins, right, in your blood, right? Whenever you go into a particular situation, whether it's a company or whether it's your own, right, you kind of know whether it'll work or not. So for sure, we could work. And the fact of the matter is, face-to-face meetings, which MICE basically falls under, has been around since what, 1903, 1904, since the first exhibition in France, right? It's 1804. And we've survived how many pandemics and how many viruses, right? So I think the point is, we know it will come back, right? I mean, if you just look at Google Trends, or if you run advertising campaigns on Google Ads, right, you can see there's a significant drop for co-working as well as hybrid meetings.
Correct.
It's not a huge drop, but there definitely is a drop, and on the upside is face-to-face meetings. So, well, I didn't have this data back then because everything was down for face-to-face, right? But I think the concept kind of, I was sold on the concept. I think it's unique enough. And I think there's some legs to go before competitors decide that this is an area they want to go into. And I really mean those big boys, right? So the opportunity was there. And if we look at in one of Lee Kuan Yew's books, he wrote about how during World War II, right, shop houses at the Little India area, if you guess what they were sold for, they were sold for 2 cartons of Hennessy VSOP or some spirit along the line, right? So in difficult situations, opportunities present itself. If you can suss them out, then it could be a great bet. But it could definitely all go wrong, right? COVID can come back, touch wood, today, and we'll be completely buggered. So yeah, it's about taking risks, like what Lynnette and Alice have talked about.
Yeah, but that is also the thrill of entrepreneurship, right? You're right, Ian. Some days I wake up, I'm like, am I just a sucker for pain, or am I just a sucker, you know, full stop, right? It's like, it's not even funny anymore. So before I go to Alice, I have a very interesting question for you. And I think that because we've gone out to ask the virtual audience as well, they've given us a lot of very interesting questions to ask you guys. To all of you who are watching us right now, please pay attention, because pop quizzes are coming up, in case you haven't realized, you know, and there are awesome things for you to win if you can answer, and that needs for you to pay attention. To the panelists, all right? So onwards to Alice. Alice, we're all talking about, you know, being suckers for pain, you know, for glory. I don't know, you know, but you know what? I just hear from all of you that being an entrepreneur, you know, it sounds like you have to be a jack of all trades. And I think most entrepreneurs don't stop at what they're doing. They have several other things going at the same time. I think you know what I'm trying to hit on the nail here. So the Art of Leadership Studio is not your only gig, is it?
So yes, Jermaine, that's a great point. When I started my business, I had one product in mind. And as I was going and meeting customers, they were asking for other things, other services. And so they taught me how to do my own job or how to launch new products. And I found that if you're open to opportunities, as Ian was discussing earlier, what happens is that your initial idea may not be the thing that you end up doing, you know, all the time. You can branch out to different services. You can create partnerships. You can set up different businesses. I have a few new ideas, in fact. Every week, you know, I'm thinking of how this can progress to grow the business. It's not necessarily things that you thought about initially, but you could start, doing many things, and you have a flexibility that you don't have in a corporate job.
Indeed, right? So on that note, you know, I'm not sure if we have lost Alice again. We might get her back. But on that note, right, you know, any final thoughts that you might have, you know, for our listener?
Well, I say just go for it. I mean, you know, there is no better time than now, really, with the because I mean, if you've been laid off and you've always wanted to do something and you have a vision, do it. If you have always been somebody that seizes opportunities, do it. You know, give it a shot, because in my opinion, it's just so rewarding, and it is something that it's very difficult to put into words. As I said, if you just let it be a journey and an adventure, in the next few years, you'll see how exciting those last few years would have been.
Indeed, right? And Ian, for your thoughts as well?
I think I just wanted to share with the many viewers out there that you can never and you should never forget about your roots. What I'm trying to say is when you start your business 1 or 2 years down the road, you're going to grow, right? And the common thing that I see happening is you farm out difficult roles to somebody else. I'll give a very simple example. In a venue like ours, what's a difficult role? Doing cleaning the toilets, helping to prepare the food for the next day, chopping vegetables, right? As an owner, right? As a business owner, you must always remember to put yourself into rotation for those roles as well, because sometimes after a long while, if you don't do it, you're going to forget how difficult those roles are and how your staff struggle with it. So you've got to remember to put yourself into, for a venue like ours, you've got to put yourself into toilet cleaning, or put yourself into reception duty, put yourself into bar duty, just to know what it's like, right? Because you can never really empathize with somebody until you're in the trenches with them fighting. So I think that's the one thing you've got to remember. Really get off that high mighty throne of yours. If you reach that point, if you're lucky enough, come down and work with your team, right? And so they know that you're there with them, and they know that you are prepared to suffer alongside, and they know that you know what they go through every single day.
Yeah. We've all just changed and become such different people, haven't we? You know, I definitely have changed, you know, from my 20+ years of corporate life. It's like people looked at me and they can't even recognize me. Actually, I'm looking younger. I'm so happy with that. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that's a great plus, isn't it? So Alice, welcome back. You know, and I know technology is like this. I tell you, you know, the virtual audience will so forgive us, because and that's the reason why we all want to meet face to face again. Hey, yes, you know, So Alice, you know, your final thoughts before we go?
I think a lot of entrepreneurship, a bit like traveling, a bit like a trip, right? So if you want to go up a mountain, or you want to go to Rome, the actual, what you get from it is not exactly reaching the top of the mountain, right? Your goal is not only going to Rome. I think when you set out on that journey, you're there to challenge yourself. You're there to meet new people, to do things that you've never done before, to seek excitement, etc., etc. So when I think of entrepreneurship, it's really that journey. And when you go to Rome, when you get there, you might decide this is not where I want to be, and you might go set off and go to another place. And so don't think too much, down the road, what's going to happen. Enjoy the ride, learn a ton of stuff, and all the stuff that you're learning will always be yours now. It's going to be your new skill set that you can use again and again in the future for other things. So something not to be fearful of, but to enjoy.
Yeah, indeed. And on that note, we really run out of time, but thank you very, very much, panelists. Yours is
Thank you.
By far the most adventurous recording that we have ever done. I think it's really fun, but I just think that, this is how we challenge ourselves, right? When lemons are thrown at you, make lemonade out of that. So have a happy day ahead, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Jermaine. Thank you.
Thank you, Jermaine.
Bye.
Bye-bye.